welcome to Pet Star, a Doc of Detox show. I'm Abby Michelle, here with my amazing co-host and always gorgeous Dr. Marlene Siegel. What's new with you, Dr. Siegel?
Well, it's cold here. We're in Florida. We're
That's
in the 40s.
that's crazy. It should never get that cold there.
I agree. I like
Yeah,
the high 50s, low 60s, low humidity. That would be perfect year round, but
yeah.
no, it's cold.
Well, you definitely don't want to come here in the winter then, because it gets way colder than that. But
Yeah,
luckily,
I'm
it's
going to
not
be there for
forever.
Total Health in Toronto. So I
Yes.
think I'm going to have to go buy a jacket.
Yeah, which April, hopefully, crossing my fingers for good weather when we're there, but you never know with Toronto in April. It could be iffy. So we'll hope
All
for the
right.
best. So before we get started with today's amazing show, I just have a couple announcements for everybody out there. We're going to be in Adelaide, Australia, February 1st to the 12th for our Wolfe Deep Tissue and Wolfe Non-Surgical certifications. And we will be in Kelowna, BC from February 17th to March 7th for our combined certification. And then we're going back to St. Petersburg, Florida. Yay, so excited to come back down there from June 9th to the 27th for our combined certification. And for those of you who are not sure what that is, our combined certification includes our whole life coach, Wolfe Deep Tissue, and then our Wolfe Non-Surgical certifications. And you also get the Braveheart online emotional training for free with any of our certification courses as well. And that's actually all my announcements for today until the end. And so we can get straight into our episode today, which is called Epigenetics and the Role They Play in Pets' Lives. So I know you wanted to get into a bit more of the nutrigenomics, correct? Before we get into epigenetics?
Well, I was going to mention the three things that we know affect our gene expression.
Right.
And we've had a show on nutrigenomics, which is how the food that we're eating or that we're feeding to our pets affects their DNA. And so that's been well studied by the University of Helsinki College of Veterinary Medicine, the only study that's actually out there on animals, where they showed that what they were feeding pets actually made a difference on gene expression and inflammatory markers. So
Right.
they did a study where they had uh, four groups of animals. They had group one was animals just being fed a raw diet. And then group number two was animals eating only processed foods, like a kibble. And then the second or the third group was animals that were eating raw and then changed to kibble. And the fourth group was animals that were eating kibble and they were changed to raw. So for all the details, we'll refer you back to the show where we talked about it. But in short, basically what it showed was that inflammatory markers were dramatically reduced on the animals that were either solely eating raw
Mm-hmm.
or were converted from a processed food diet onto a raw diet. So very conclusively, they could tell that eating a species appropriate diet really does make a difference.
Right.
And then we talked about hormesis in another show as well. And that's the intermittent stressors that will then stimulate the mitochondria to turn on and do their job. Those are the little powerhouses that are in our cells and the
Mm-hmm.
cells of our pets. And they are the ones that actually produce the energy that our bodies need to actually function.
Right.
So if you're not producing energy, you're going to be pushing up the wrong side of the weeds. And that would not be a good thing. So hormesis was also a very important piece of the puzzle on how to stay healthy. And then this week, we're going to really explore what are epigenetics. So let me just dive in.
Yeah, let's dive in. Let's talk about it. What is epigenetics?
Well, epigenetics is the study of how gene expression is affected by our environment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the olden days, before we really understood about gene expression, they weren't really sure what was controlling gene expression. And then scientists discovered DNA. Well, this is interesting because when they discovered the DNA, there happened to be a protein coating over the DNA. So if I may use my arm, if you can imagine, the protein coating is my sleeve. And
Okay.
underneath, they discovered, wow, there's DNA under there. Well, they didn't know what the protein coating was for. So they just, in their beautiful wisdom, took it off and set it aside.
Right.
And then they studied the genes and thought that it was the genes that determined our expression and our outcome. So if you had certain genes that were coding for cancers or for mutations or for lack of being able to do methylation or whatever that was, then that was your doom and your destiny.
Right.
And then Dr. Bruce Lipton came along, and he's an MD that was doing science and research. And he took two petri dishes, two little cups, and he put stem cells from the same source into these two petri dishes. So stem cells are the precursor cells that haven't differentiated into whatever they're going to differentiate into. And so he harvested the stem cells from, I think it was fat, and he put them in the two petri dishes, and he treated both petri dishes identical. And lo and behold, both petri dishes, the cells end up developing into the exact same tissue.
Okay.
Not a surprise.
Right.
But then what he did is he took and he changed the environment of one petri dish to be a very harsh, negative, hard, evil environment, one that was not a fun environment for the cells to thrive in. And what he discovered was they mutated into different tissues. So here they were, the very same cells. When they're treated in the same environment, they became the same thing. But when they changed the environment of one group and made it a harsh environment, those cells transferred into something else. And there was a bunch more studies that he did, but basically the conclusion became that it's not your genes that dictate who you are, it's the environment. So your lifestyle, your environment, the food that you're eating, the kind of stressors that you're under, all of those are part of what will predict what your gene expression is going to be.
Okay. Yeah, and that makes total sense. Our environment predicts anything, even our inner terrain. If our environment inside is not pristine, then we're going to attract things of that vibration that are lower.
Yep. So think about it this way. Your cells are like the Lunar Module. They are waiting to receive information from the outside. And we are transmitting information to our cells via our eyes, our ears, our smell, our taste, our touch. So our sensory organs are the things that pick up the information. And then based on how we interpret that information, we are going to produce neurochemicals. And those neurochemicals are then going to go down to the cells, and they're going to attach to receptor sites on this protein covering of the DNA.
Right.
And based on what that information is, it's going to tell which DNA to either don't be expressed or to be expressed, again, depending on what the interpretation is. So somebody who interprets their surroundings as being very evil and bad and dangerous and scarce, they're going to produce different neurochemicals and send a different message to the cells going, danger, Will Robinson. That's a bad place out there. Now, you probably don't remember Will Robinson, do you?
No, I do. Well, I remember that. I remember that saying. I don't know if I remember completely, but I've heard the saying before.
We'll see how well our audience is listening, paying attention to, and their age. Because if they remember Lost in Space, they're a little older. Well, anyhow, so that was a bad joke.
No,
so
that was great.
Basically, our cells are waiting for this communication from us based on our senses and our interpretation. Now, you can take the same person and they may perceive the same situation, but they're not going to perceive it in a negative way. And so they're going to set a whole different set of neurotransmitters that are going to go down and communicate with that protein sheath and then cover an entirely different set of genes. So we now conclusively know that the more you remain in a negative state with anger and judgment and frustration and bitterness and hatred and non-forgivingness, those are all very low vibrating states, but you're also sending out neurotransmitters that are communicating bad things to your cells. And so you are literally creating the genetic expression that's going to lead to dis-ease.
Yes, totally. And you actually brought up a word specific, bitterness. And I actually posted to my Instagram a quote the other day, and it was, when life is sweet, have fun and celebrate. When life is bitter, I'm saying it a little bit wrong, but it was basically like reflect and grow. So even when things are negative, we need to find the positive out of it and learn from it and grow from it instead of sitting there in negativity.
Absolutely. Contrast is one of the best tools for being able to actually reinforce what it is that you really do want.
Yes.
And we're just, I guess it's the nature of the creatures that we are, is that if we're very comfy and plush and there's just nothing really motivating us, then we have a tendency to stay where we're at. But when we have things that really motivate us and excite us and kick us out of our comfy zone, that's when we really become our brilliance. That's when we are creative and intuitive, and we stretch ourselves and decide we're going to get an answer to that. And that certainly was my story. So I think that's really the story of most brilliant people, is something, they have some kind of a hardship, tragedy, or life experience that makes them leave that comfy zone and really step into the power of who they are.
Definitely. Yeah. Rise like the phoenix from the ashes. So let's talk. So a lot of this with our like as a pet owner, our behaviors and lifestyles are definitely going to affect our pets' health. So how does our lifestyle and behaviors affect our pets' epigenetics?
Thank you for segueing that in, because obviously we were talking about humans in the beginning, but now we're going to actually say, how does that work with your pets? So there is a principle in physics called entrainment. Now, you know, when their girls are living in a dorm together and they all get their period, like over time, they all seem to get their period at the same week. That is called entrainment. It means one energy influences another energy until they kind of come into sync. It's how we tune pianos. It's how you go to a really powerful motivational speaker, and when you leave, you just feel that energy and you feel pumped up, and I can do this, and yes, I can do it. And so you're entraining to the energy of that speaker. And then we've all had that energy vampire. That's the person that we know that when you get done, you just got to go home and take a nap because they suck you dry.
Totally.
You know, there's never enough, and they're just, you know,
at the level of a parasite almost. Totally.
Yeah, you got to turn sideways and deflect them. Yeah, it's really sad. So anyhow, those are also principles of entrainment. So we all have experienced that, and we just didn't have a name for it. Well, our pets entrain to our energies as well. So if you have a household where it's in chaos all the time, they're screaming all the time, nobody knows how to get along, and the kids are fighting, and there's stress all the time. You live in that, I call it the sad American day, the sad day. It's like the sad diet, the standard American diet. But the standard American day is that day where you just live in nonstop stress. It's just from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you're in stress. And your pets actually entrain to that also. So here they are, they're tuning in to what you're giving off. So if you're giving off that this is a bad, scary place and there's chaos all the time and there's anger and frustration, they're actually absorbing part of that. And that is going to have an effect on their gene expression as well.
Very interesting. And I totally see that with just viewing my friends who have pets and certain lifestyles that they have, like their weekends where they'll go out and party more, and then they come home to their dog and they're hungover on the couch. The dog's more depressed and just like lying around and looking at him like, hey, can we please go for a walk? But they're just too exhausted to do so. And then other times where you see them and they're energetic and they're happy and they're positive and they're treating their dog like so amazingly, take him for walks and just giving him so much attention, the dog is so much more energetic and happy. So you definitely see that they do pick up on our energy big time. And even I've seen, which is sad, but in more of an abusive situation where there's yelling and everything, and the dogs they cower away, they go into the corner, they try to hide away from it all. So we have to really be cautious about how we put out our energy so that our pets and even children are living the best life, because we imprint on children too, the same way that the animals are picking up our energy. Children do that in the same way.
Oh, absolutely. I had a lady once that I was doing behavior training with her dog, and she was so fearful that her dog would bite somebody. And so this dog, all it could sense was there's danger everywhere because my mom's freaking out.
Right.
And when we got her out of the picture and I just took the dog and I had confidence and just felt like everything was safe and going to be fine. And the dog was totally different with me, wasn't cowering, wasn't shaking, wasn't trying to nip. It was a totally different behavior. So it was actually in training to the fear of the owner, but it didn't know what it needed to be fearful of. So it was just on alert that there was something bad out there.
Right. Very interesting. That reminds me of a similar situation when I was, I would have been in my late teens, early 20s, but my parents split up. So I was taking care of my dog, and me and my dad lived together, and my mom would she's an amazing person. She just wanted my dog to eat, but she would try to almost force her to eat, and my dog would be like not wanting to eat, right? So she would get almost anxiety over it, and my mom would it was just not a good situation. My dog just wouldn't eat. And then, so when I started taking care of her, I was busy out working and then coming home and just feeding her at the same time every day and just leaving it out for her to just enjoy whenever she ate it. And her moods completely changed. She would eat whenever I came home to put it out. It was never a pressure for her to do so. And she ended up living a much more peaceful life after that because my mom wasn't so in her face, but just an interesting little situation
so
there.
It brings up another great subject line, which is how we can actually learn things from our pets. Now, we've mentioned several times that they give us unconditional love and they model unconditional love, which is really big. They never become judgmental of us. Every day you could leave the room and come back in the room and they're still happy to see you. It's like you've been gone for years. And they're just so happy that you're there, right? That's that unconditional love. They're not judging you because you didn't brush your teeth yet and you have bad breath and you didn't put your makeup on and you didn't say kind words to them. You didn't bring them a present. None of that, right? And if they potty on the floor and you clean it up, then it's forgotten, right? You just move on to it. So it's really one big lesson that I love pointing out to people is that lesson of unconditional love, because we are such a conditional group of people, but we don't do that to our pets. So that's really cool. We just recently had a wonderful mom and her daughter that were staying here for a few weeks with a cat that had cancer in his mouth. And I was just in tears as I was sharing with them the amount of beauty that I observed from them in their unconditional dedication to this cat. I mean, they had just done everything and anything that you could possibly do to heal this cat from a cancer that is considered non-curable. And as of the time that we're speaking right now, I think he's pretty close to, if not having no cancer in his mouth, having very little, where we could actually come back and treat him a second time and probably be done with it. But the amount of dedication that they showed to this cat was the only time I've really appreciated what unconditional commitment has been back to the pet, because anything he needed, they did it. Down to working with a feeding tube and on schedule, and it was just amazing.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So unconditional love, absolute. The second thing is also about how to live in the moment. 99% of this world, they're so living in the past. They're in their subconscious mind. They're thinking about the future, and they just forget to be present. I took a picture a couple mornings ago. I was coming in early, and I looked up, and now it gets light here earlier. And I look up and it literally looked like snow clouds in the sky.
Oh,
crazy. It was a blanket of these beautiful, I posted it on Facebook. So if anybody goes on Facebook, you can see the picture. It was a little video I did. And it was stunning. I mean, the picture just doesn't do it justice. It was so gorgeous that I had to, when I stopped at the red light, I actually shot the pictures and I took some video. And what I posted was, for people to just take a moment several times a day to be present. Pay attention to what your body feels like, your breathing, look at the world around you, really see the colors, really smell the smells. Hopefully you're in a place that smells good. But
that's a bonus.
Really,
Don't do
really be present. Make it a point to, this is an exercise I love to teach students, is Every hour you set your alarm
Mm-hmm.
or your phone to notify you that you're going to be present for 1 to 3 minutes.
Yes.
And you just stop what you're doing and you just have a moment of really being focused. Now, this really ties back into epigenetics because now you're taking a few minutes to calm yourself down,
Yep.
because now when you're present, you're not thinking about all the past and future things that you're all stressed over. So
Mm-hmm.
you become really present. Your blood pressure comes down, your breathing improves, your neurotransmitters change. And especially if you add something like a little thought of gratitude in there,
Yes.
now you're actually changing the chemistry of your body. Taking 3 to 5 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth literally lowers the pH in your body.
Yeah.
So it's, you're able to change your chemistry by just doing little tiny things that are so impactful.
Yeah.
You're going to lower cortisol levels, you're going to reduce the amount of leaky gut that you have, and your animals are going to entrain to that. So now everybody benefits.
Totally. That's such a beautiful thing. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's actually something I've been doing a lot more of lately since it's a colder season and I don't like to go outside when it's cold. I'm like, what can I do inside that will benefit me? So I've been meditating a lot more, focusing on my breathing a lot more. The place I live in now has like steam rooms and saunas. So I'm going in there and doing more meditations and just focusing on that deep breathing, and I've just become so much more calm and peaceful and happy, and it's just such a beautiful thing to feel your body shift from such tiny adjustments just through your breath alone. It's such a beautiful thing, and I've said this before, but we can live 3 days without water, three weeks without food, but we can only last 3 minutes without breath. So oxygen and our breath is our most important asset. So if we can really learn to breathe properly and activate our kundalini and energize our bodies through our breath, we're going to be living at a whole new level. Definitely check that out. There's guided meditations you can do. I love to listen to like the 528 frequency. Spotify is wonderful. I'll go on and just search different frequency sounds and just put that on and just chill out for a little bit. Do really deep breathing, 6 seconds in, 7 seconds out, and doing that for 5 minutes, and you pretty much get lightheaded and you're like, woo, but you feel so good after. It's really wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I've done the Wim Hof breathing techniques. I love that.
Yeah.
And I am a total supporter of Michael Terrell's Whole Tones. We
Okay.
can post a link to that in the show notes if you want,
Yeah.
and people can check that out because that's all about frequency. What he did was really neat because he took frequency and then he added music on top. And that
Okay.
way you're not hearing the frequency, you're hearing the music, but the frequency is being delivered.
Beautiful.
He calls it that the music is the sugar delivering the medicine, which is the frequency. And I like that analogy because it helps you to realize that your body is really just needing to entrain back to the normal harmonic frequencies, which are being disrupted by all of the man-made frequencies, the
Right.
cell phones, the Wi-Fi, the routers, the neighbors' cell phones, routers, and Wi-Fi, and microwaves, and all of these things that are just so disruptive.
And how did
And
those really, because I know they affect our environment hugely, like 5G, especially, and the Wi-Fi, the blue light, all of these negative EMFs, like they affect our environment so much. So how is that affecting the epigenetics and our pets?
it's the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
And I
same
think
way
in our
that
pets,
is.
it's even more magnified
They're so
because they're not
sensitive.
typically able to get away from it.
Yeah.
So if your Wi-Fi is on in the house 24/7, they're in that 24/7.
It's really important
Now,
to unplug your Wi-Fi at night when you're going to bed because we want our cells to be able to regenerate, and they don't do that if we have Wi-Fi going on. If you have your phone by your bed, or if you have lamps plugged in or alarm clocks, any of those things are going to be emitting EMF, and our bodies can't get to that rest and restore and repair stage that it needs to get to. So really important to EMF proof your home, especially at night.
absolutely. I'm going to make a plug for my friend Lloyd, who did a EMF Summit, and it's going to air in the next few weeks. So I'll be
Perfect.
sending out links and posting that for people. It's a free webinar or summit, but I guess a summit because there's a whole bunch of speakers on there. I know I'm on there. Dr. Zach Bush is on there. There's a whole bunch of people that
Wonderful.
are on there, and it's a wonderful piece of not only information, but a lot of speakers were talking about things you can do to protect yourself. And I know what I'm going to be doing is actually creating not a Faraday cage, but I'm going to be using sheets like bedding and maybe even a canopy.
Yep.
Because in my house, my alarm system is on Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay, great. If I would have known that ahead of time, I would never have put that in.
Yeah.
But if I turn my Wi-Fi off, then my alarm systems don't work.
Right.
And I'm on emergency call. So I really do have to have my phone on. I can't put it on airplane mode. But what I'm going to do is create like a sleeping environment, a tent, so to speak, where I can shield myself from a lot of that EMF, at least while I'm sleeping.
I was actually just talking with Dr. Marcel Wolfe, Dr. Wolfe's brother. He does the energy medicine show on here, and he's an EMF specialist. He's wonderful, wonderful. So I was talking to him about that because I just moved into a new place, and it's in a condo, and luckily top floor corner, but I'm getting hit by way more Wi-Fi than I was before when I was in a house. So I was asking him how to protect myself, and mainly when I'm sleeping, that's the most important time because you're not moving. And he suggested the same thing that you're saying, canopy with the sheet underneath, and just surrounding your whole bed with this EMF proof material, and then to get the detector and then go inside of it and turn the detector on and make sure that there's no sounds going off, and you're good to go. So we'll have to connect on that because I want to hear what you're using. And
absolutely,
yeah, that'd be wonderful.
So I purchased 3 meters.
Okay.
There's and if anybody's interested, you can certainly message me and I'll give you the links to what we had purchased. But the 3 meters do 3 different things, and so we're testing for the dirty electricity that's in the wiring of the house. We're testing for smart appliances, cell phones, routers, and things like that. And then the third one does your overhead EMF, so the power lines and the geopatch, mostly the power lines and the things that are coming in that are also being picked up.
Right.
So it's important to, I think the take home message in the whole webinar series was that you need to know what your exposure is. You can't fix something that you don't know what you have.
Totally.
So that's really, really important. And then once you find out what the sources of your problems are, now my meters cost a little over $1,000 altogether. So I'm not telling people that you need to go out there and buy all 3 of those meters, but if you can find somebody in your area, like I bought them, and I have a gentleman who goes out and actually tests the homes for our clients so that they can see what they have. And sometimes the solution is as simple as just move away from it. You know, distance is our friend when it comes to EMF.
Totally.
So that's an important thing. And certainly it does affect our genetics because it's causing disruption. Another thing that we have seen a lot of lately is results on our Quest. We have a bioenergetic system that we scan our patients and sometimes their parents. And I just had a gentleman that we had done a scan. We had done his whole family, all the animals, and we did him and his girlfriend. And one of the things that came up in his scan was polarity issues, which are where your polarity changes because of all the EMF exposure. Right. Well, guess what he does for a living? He works on a computer.
Okay. Yep.
So it was my ability to show him that this was actually harmful for him. And by mitigating that through a variety of different options that he has, then he can actually minimize the amount of damage that he's causing to himself.
Right. It's so important. And this actually leads to my next question, because we're able to correct our environment from the EMFs and sort of all these other things. But what are some other things that owners can do to create positive influences on their pets?
Well, we talked about slowing down, being present, staying in gratitude. The 2 things I like to help people to do is have a gratitude journal. And really start adding to that journal. And it doesn't have to be big, crazy, massive things. It could be, I'm grateful that the sun is shining today. I'm grateful that there was a bird singing outside my window and I could hear it this morning. I'm grateful that I have a warm place to live and clothes to keep me warm when it's cold outside. It doesn't have to be big stuff.
Sometimes sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the day-to-day stuff that we need to stop and be present and be aware. Like, I'm sitting here with a beautiful big cup. My daughter bought these, and it's just a fun cup. And I'm so grateful to be able to drink my water from this really fun cup that makes me smile. It has all these great little sayings on it.
Totally.
And so I love that. And again, not a big deal, but it's a beautiful cup. And so I'm enjoying it.
I even, I know for myself, some of my gratitudes, I'm like for one, if you get a head cold and you can't smell properly or taste properly or breathe properly, after that you're like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for my breath, I'm so grateful for my taste, I'm so grateful for my smell, I'm so grateful I can actually breathe through my nose now. And I realized that I was like, I need to be more grateful for just the little things. I was even in some of my gratitudes, when I look back, when I first started writing my gratitudes down years ago, I was looking through some of my old journals, and it was like, I'm grateful for my sight, I'm grateful for that I can touch and feel, and just like the tiniest little things. I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. And it's so important to just realize that not everybody is blessed with even the five senses that we're given when we come down here. So just being grateful for the smallest little things, or the person who said hi to you walking down the street, anything like that, because a lot of people are so tuned out now. They're looking down at their phone when they're walking. Nobody really interacts anymore. So even those little things, I was reading through, and I was like, I'm grateful for the man who said hi to me on my walk today.
Yeah.
But it's just so
but it
sweet.
puts you in a different state.
Totally.
And going back to what does gratitude do, when you start giving off a different energy, you're creating different neurochemicals, and you're infusing that to everyone and everything around you. So gratitude is huge. And I encourage people to have your gratitude journal. There should be, the very first day you make that journal, you should have at least 100 things in there.
Yeah.
If you can't come up with 100 things you're grateful for, we need to be having a conversation on learning how to be more grateful, because you're missing the boat. Okay?
That's a whole new show.
A whole nother show. Very good. And the other thing that I like for my clients to do is create an evidence journal. I'm going to sneeze. I'm trying so hard not to. An evidence journal. And an evidence journal is those serendipitous things that help you to know you are loved, you are supported, and you are on the right path. So it could be things like you were thinking of somebody and the phone rings and it's them.
Right.
Or it could be that you were hoping for a parking spot and you drive up and there's the parking spot.
Yeah.
It could be silly things and it could be big things. It could be running into somebody who is amazing. We're getting ready to open our commercial commissary and event center. So our first event in our event center is January 26th and 27th. So if anybody is in the Tampa Bay area, Dr. Wolfe is actually going to be coming and doing a presentation, and they're going to be doing some deep tissue massage and demonstrating that on our second day. But the first day is going to be all about lectures and learning from all kinds of different teachers, from lymphatic drainage to energy workers to massage, deep tissue massage, emotional release. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff on pets. So this is like a people and pet thing. So here I am going, okay, we need to find a chef, because I want to have our lunches and dinners catered. So I want all the participants to be able to sit at a round table with the speaker of their choice. Right. So it's like, you think about who you want to have lunch with, and then you run over to that table and you secure your spot, and then you have lunch with that person, and you find somebody different for dinner. And then the next day there's going to be one more meal. So I need to find a chef, right? Well, I set my intention that I need to find a organic, well-trained, out-of-the-box thinker who can make delicious food and do it healthy. Yeah. And I have run into 3 chefs in the past 48 hours. Now, it's not them. It's not their segue that they do. It's not their genre, but they can connect me to the people who when this person leads you to that person, leads you to that person. And eventually we'll get to the person that we need to manifest. But I just threw the intention out, and I'm getting little feedback, and I'm going, wow, that's pretty cool. So I realized that, again, I created that energy to look for that chef. And now I'm talking about the story, and who knows, there may be a chef that's listening that says, hey, I'll be that person that creates that meal for you.
Totally.
So how cool would that be?
Awesome. Ask and it is given, right?
Absolutely.
Perfect. I love that.
You got to know it's coming, believe it's coming, and then it comes.
And then it's here. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. And it
So
really does work. And I love that you're talking about writing down those little bits of evidence, because that really solidifies it for people. And they're like, oh, hey, this
mhm,
really does work. And then it
right. And
happens
then
more and more. And then that momentum keeps going, and it spirals
exactly.
and you get everything you've ever wanted.
Yeah. Sort of like intention boards that, was a big thing in the past where
Yeah,
you make pictures and intention boards and then you keep focusing on it and then you come back and boom, there's the house that you had manifested and it's there.
totally.
And I like that too, but I like the evidence journal because it allows you to go back and go, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I was thinking of that. And it just, like you just said, it reinforces the strength of knowing that things
Yeah.
really do happen for a reason and it really does happen for your highest and best good. And sometimes when you ask, this is a little piece that I like to throw in, is you ask for what it is you want or better.
Right. Yes, that's
Okay.
so
You always
important.
add the or better
Yeah.
because you don't want to pigeonhole the universe to go, really? Is that so small?
Yeah.
That's all you want?
Oh, or
So I,
even I've even done it where I think I want something so bad and I'm asking specifically for that exact thing, and then I get it and I'm like, this isn't what I wanted at all. And so you have to add that in, because sometimes your mind is telling you want something because you've just thought about it for so long, but it changes. Sometimes you want something different, and that's why you have to ask for something of that nature or better. And you'll always
yes,
get the thing that you really are, what you really need, when you do it that
absolutely.
way. Yeah.
I think there's a country song about that. Thank God for unanswered prayers.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
I can't think of who that's by, but I know that song for sure. It's a good one.
Um, if you hadn't asked me, I would have just said his name. But
I was gonna
it's a
say,
beautiful song because
is it
here
Alan
he is. He's,
Jackson? Maybe?
who
No.
was it?
Alan Jackson?
No,
No.
no,
No.
definitely not.
No.
Not him.
Okay.
Ah, I can see him with the hat. Okay, oh,
George Strait?
maybe Omi will look it up for us.
Yeah. Omi, can you look that
um,
up?
Straight,
George
George Strait.
Strait. That's what I thought. Okay. That was my second guess. George Strait.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
wonderful.
so but here he is. He's sitting at a football game with his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and he sees his high school girlfriend that he was so in love with, and
Right.
he thought she was it, and it didn't happen for him, and he was all upset and sad at the time. And now he sees her and he goes,
Yeah.
I am so glad I didn't have that, and I have
This
my wife
instead.
that's sitting next
Yeah.
to me.
That's
So
beautiful.
thank God for unanswered prayers.
Yeah.
And so I really hope everybody really takes that to heart, especially as we go into a holiday season where our hopes and our dreams, our expectations, it is joyful as a time of year it is. So many people are hurt and disappointed and sad and lonely. And so we really do want to focus on what is it that we are really asking for, and focus on the good in our life, and focus on the things that we should be grateful for,
Mm-hmm.
and not the stuff that we don't have. Because hey, if you don't have it, maybe you really don't need it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a tweak off of that that you
Totally.
really should have, and then you put your focus of attention on that. And the other piece, which is a little off topic for us, is that it should always be something that actually serves the higher good for the universe,
Yes.
for your community, your family, for the world in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I always include that as well. Is it
Totally.
really something that is serving the highest good of all?
Definitely. And I always, whenever I do my gratitudes and affirmations and everything, I always, um, I'll say them out loud, or I write them down as well. But I always say that I will take care of Mother Earth the best that I can, in return. And I'm so grateful that I'm going to do everything I can to help save this planet and help awaken the masses to do the same, because I can get everything I want, but if I'm not helping the planet, then what's the point,
Yes. And our lives need to be congruent.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, I want to be healthy, and then you lead an unhealthy lifestyle,
Right.
or you have unhealthy thoughts.
Yeah.
I call unhealthy thoughts the ants that are in our brain, the
Mm-hmm.
little ant bugs, right?
Yep. Yep.
They stand for automatic negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever forget, just remember the little ant walking across the screen.
Yeah.
Right? So we all have ants in our
Yeah.
brain. We all have those automatic negative thoughts. The thing that something happens and you automatically go, oh, that always happens to me, or
Yeah.
I'm always the victim, or I'm always right. You're not.
No.
But it's becoming aware of that thought.
Yeah.
And going, oh, wait a minute, did I just have a negative thought?
And
Well, let
correcting
me
it.
just stomp that little ant out,
Yeah.
and let's put a better thought in there. So I think that's another good thing that we could learn,
Yeah.
which is really not that far off topic because it produces negative neurochemicals.
Yeah.
So it really is about catching yourself and becoming present and aware
Yeah.
of what your thoughts are so that you start creating a different environment inside your body and hence a different environment for your pet as well.
Definitely. And a way that we really like to do that and erasing and replacing those negative thoughts is with, well, if you take the Brave Heart online training, it's our emotional training course, but one of the steps in there is our Love Band Life Band. So you wear just like an elastic band on your wristband. I just put mine in my hair, else I would show you. But you just snap the band, and when you have that negative thought, you gently snap your band, and it's like a little kiss to remind yourself to infuse that with a positive thought instead. And eventually those thoughts go away and the positive thought stays. So it's just reprogramming your brain to accept the new thought as the real one.
So let me explain how that works for some of the listeners, because I know you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine that your brain is a hardwired computer. And if you imagine a hardwired computer, there's a cable that goes from point A to point B. So when you create a thought and it has an effect, you're hardwired from the thought into the effect. So imagine that you have been having negative comments, negative thoughts, these ants running through your brain for a really long time. Each time you reinforce that and you do it again and again and again, it creates an even thicker hardwire. So the cable goes from a little thread to a cord to a cable
Yeah.
to the lines that hold the big steamboats there, right?
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah.
So the more you focus on something like that, the more you repeat a behavior, the more hardwired you become to that particular behavior, thought, and outcome. So by flipping the wristband or however one does that, you're taking and you're interrupting that connection,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start making a different connection. So now you're taking that hardwire and you start to take that cable and you don't connect it back to where it was, you connect it to a new spot.
Yeah.
And it starts out where it's a little thread,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets stronger and bigger and thicker and stronger and harder, and to where that becomes the new hardwire for you.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps people
Thank you.
to understand that it's not easy necessarily. That's one way to change your hardwiring. And then, of course, doing things like tapping, like EFT, the emotional freedom technique. I
Mhm.
love that. And I do it for my pets as well. I teach my owners how to do it, and then they tap as a surrogate for their pet. Now, that could be a whole nother segment. But if anybody is interested in EFT or emotional freedom technique, we can actually teach them how to do that for their pet.
Amazing.
It's another way to rewire the energy that you're putting off, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, is
Mm-hmm.
what are you giving off? So are you giving off positive energy that you are attracting the things that you want, or are you giving off negative energy and you're attracting the things that you don't want? Because
Right.
the universe does not judge. It says, oh, you're having negative thoughts. You want to see more of that? Well, here, let me show you more frustration. Then you can't find your car keys, you get a flat tire.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on.
Definitely.
And then if you want to see things that are positive and abundant and joyful, well, then you're going to see that, because again, that's the energy, that's the frequency you're flying at.
Yeah.
So if you're on channel 10, you're going to see what's on channel 10. If you're on channel 3, you're going to see what's on channel 3.
Exactly.
And it's kind of hard, unless you have picture in a picture, it's kind of hard to see them both.
Right.
And then you're going to attract others that are at that frequency that you're emitting. So choose where you want to be having that frequency.
Amazing. Thank you so much for explaining all that. That was wonderful. And one thing I just wanted to say is, like, just as you were saying that, I had a little thought go through my head, because I had a really, really good past couple weeks. Like the past month actually have just been like amazing, like so good. And then there were these little things that happened that would have normally taken my high down a notch or a few notches, and I just didn't even pay attention to them. I was like, it's fine, and just like let them move to the side, and I just dealt with it, and as if it didn't even happen. And I was like, that's how you recorrect it, right? So that way,
Yeah.
those things aren't going to continue to even happen anymore. I'm just going to stay on a higher level, because those little things can't get me. I'm not going to let them affect me.
and you're not putting any power there. You're
Yeah.
not giving it any juice to keep going in that direction.
Yeah.
So it just kind of fizzles out, and then you put your focus in a different direction, and that's where you go off to.
Even one of the things I didn't even tell anybody about, because I was like, oh, they're all gonna like be like, oh my God, that's too bad, or like, you know, giving me like pity for it, or like, oh, that's unfortunate. I'm like, I'm not even gonna say it on the show what it was, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't even pay any attention to it, can't give it any attention, and then it'll never happen again. No,
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful thing. Our minds are so powerful.
Let's see, have we missed anything? I want to make sure that we've...
I feel like we're doing good. We do have a caller, so do we want to jump into that?
Yeah.
Okay. Caller, you can go ahead with your question. Thank you for waiting. Oh, hello? Oh, maybe they aren't there.
Yeah.
Are they still on the line, Omi?
They're on the line, but I don't think they can hear us.
Okay. Well, let's just go back into it then. We will. Maybe they'll come on later. It doesn't look like they're there right now, so we'll just move forward. Was there any other thoughts that you wanted to touch on with epigenetics and how they can affect the health of our pets?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. We mentioned whole tones as a mechanism for helping to change your sympathetic, parasympathetic frequencies and to get you in a better state. You mentioned doing exercising and meditation. Those are all really great. There's a tool that I came across when I was at the American Academy for Integrated Medicine, and it's a brain entrainment thing where you have earphones on that are playing frequency, and then they have different glasses that emit different light frequencies, different LED lights. And so you put the glasses on and you put the earphones on, and then you set it for whatever program, if you want to be in a alpha brain wave or a theta brain wave or kind of wherever you're going. And they have a sleep relaxation program in there. And it's wonderful. We're just now getting ready to do some trials on pets with it.
Okay,
so
cool.
We're our first one's tomorrow.
Awesome.
So I'm excited. We have a little dog that has become very food aggressive.
Okay.
And it started over food, and now it's real aggressive over just even being in its space. So we're going to put the headphones kind of around her neck so that she can hear the music. And then we're just going to have the glasses kind of near her face where she can see the lights, and it's going to emit, and that way she gets to get the frequencies. Cool. And we're going to start trying and seeing how it does.
That's really exciting. So
yeah,
tomorrow's the first trial?
What's that?
Tomorrow's the first trial for that?
This is going to be our first animal case.
Okay.
That we're going to test it on. Yep. And this company is actually going to be at our event in January, which is going to be in our event center, which is right next to my office. So January 26th and 27th. The 26th is going to be the lectures. The 27th is going to be an entire day where people can sign up and choose what type of therapy they want to get, from lymphatic drainage to foot ionic detoxing to body works, a couple different kinds of body work. So you have to talk to Dr. Wolfe and see if he'll bring you down as well.
Yeah, who knows? Awesome. That would be amazing. We're actually going to Australia for the 1st of February. So who knows? Maybe I'll come there and fly from there to Australia. I would love that.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
And then we go to Total Health in March?
April. I think it's April 11th to the 14th. The 12th to the 14th.
Yeah, and I've got a 3-hour workshop there.
Wonderful.
And we're planning some amazing things for people. So if anybody's going to be in the Toronto area, please make sure that you sign up to go to that as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, Total Health is a wonderful event. It's every year around that same time. So April 12th to the 14th. And it's so amazing. All the booths that are there are so wonderful. So many good products and just so many different therapies, and so many wonderful healers and people attend this event. And then, of course, we have the lectures and the workshops, which are so amazing. So I'm so grateful that you're going to be there for this one. That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. I have 2 lectures and then a 3-hour workshop.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, hopefully I have some free time. I can check them out. I'd love to come watch your lectures if we're not tied up with one of Dr. Wolfe's. That would be awesome.
And I'll come watch yours. How's that?
Yes. I don't have one yet. I should talk to him about that. Get me on stage.
Oh,
No, just
yeah.
kidding.
Girl power here, huh?
Yeah, come
we're
on.
good. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, this has been amazing. Is there
Yes.
anything I have not answered that you think we could talk about in the realms of epigenetics?
I feel like you covered it all. In for me, it's definitely been covered, and questions aren't coming in, so you must have covered it for all of our amazing listeners as well.
Wonderful.
But
I'll make one parting kind of emphasis for
Yeah.
everybody, and that is do not buy into the story that you are your genes or that your pets are their genes. You know, that's a very outdated model of thinking now.
yeah,
And so if you are filling out doctor forms for you or your pet, and they are asking questions about, does this run in your family? Well, it only runs in your family because you have the same lifestyle
yeah,
as your family.
exactly.
But if you take the time to start creating a healthier lifestyle, you change the food that you're eating and only go organic. That is so important.
So important.
It's that, first of all, that's real food.
Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't have to demand it, but it is the way it is. So
Yeah.
we have to demand organic foods. I would love to start a revolution where there was 1 week out of every month, 1 week out of every month that people refused to go to a restaurant that didn't offer at least one organic option.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be
I'm putting
amazing.
it out there.
Let's.
It's a bucket challenge.
You know what? Let's start it. Let's just do it. It'll get out
I think
there.
we need to do it. Let's pick a week.
Okay.
So how about, let me see, December is coming up.
Yep.
I don't have a calendar in front of me, but let's pick the second week in December.
Okay. So that would be, I have one here. So December 2nd is the Sunday. So December 2nd to the 8th.
We're going to throw it out
Okay.
there, and we want readers and listeners to post back where would they have gone that they didn't go. And you have to tell the restaurants that you would normally have gone to.
Yes.
And in fairness, go up to them and ask, would you be willing to create a item on your menu that was organic? That
Yeah.
means that the oil that they use, if it's cooked in oil, or the meat should be grass-fed out, whatever that looks like, but it should be a totally organic meal.
Yeah.
And
also,
if they say no, then start with your friends, your families, your neighbors, and say, look, we want to show these people that we want to support them, but if they're going to feed us food that's going to cause us to be sick, to go to hospitals, to get our children get cancer, no,
yeah.
no, draw that line in the sand and
Totally.
say, I am not willing to do that. And then eat at home a little bit more. First of all, you're going to save a lot of money. Yay. And
Perfect.
second of all, you're going to feel better.
Totally.
So we just have to stop. You know, I'm not fun to go out to a restaurant with, because at first question is, what is the oil that you're cooking in?
Yeah.
And if they say canola oil, or if they say olive oil, you have to ask, do you cut your olive oil with canola oil?
Yeah.
And make them go back. If they think you have a food allergy, just say yes. And then they have to tell you, right? They're not going to lie because they don't want you to have a anaphylactic reaction
Totally.
to their restaurant. So you want to really push them. What is it that they're cooking your food in?
Yeah.
And then ask, if it's a meat, is it grass-fed? If it's a fish, is it wild caught? Because you don't want to eat
Very
anything
important.
farm raised.
No.
Right? All really, really important pieces of information.
Yeah.
And the more we ask and the more we demand, then I literally had restaurant owners say to me, until there is enough demand, we're not going to make the changes. And it's not even more expensive. It really isn't.
It isn't.
We're talking a difference of $1 or $2.
Yeah.
It's really not more expensive.
No, it really isn't. And another thing too, everybody try to do dairy-free and gluten-free. That's so important. It's like gluing mucus to your intestines when you eat them, especially when you eat them together. So stay away from the dairy and the gluten. I'm plant-based, so I say stay away from all animal products. But if you are going to do animal products, definitely take Dr. Marlene Siegel's advice. Grass-fed organic is the only way to go, and wild caught if you're eating any seafoods, because the waters that they're, I don't agree with ocean caught things either, just because the waters are pretty contaminated. But the farmed fish, the things that you see, if you Google it, you won't want to touch anything farmed. It's not good. So definitely pay attention to what you're eating. And on that week where we're going to not eat at any restaurants, unless they have an organic meal, try to buy all organic groceries that week too.
Thank
Switch it
you.
up.
That was an excellent suggestion. Of
Yes.
course, that's what we want to help to encourage people is take a week and only eat organic, gluten-free. No dairy, no sugar, just do it for a week.
It's not that
you will
hard.
be amazed at how much better you feel. Absolutely amazed.
Yeah. So important. And try to eat local too. If you have lots of local farmers around you that you can buy everything from, that's going to bring more into your community, and it's going to help the economy as a whole. If you're shopping local, it's so important. So if you have a local organic grocery store, that's beautiful. Or go speak to your local farmers, because there are even lots of farmers who are going to do like drawing a blank here. What is it now? I can't even think of the term, but it's a certain biodynamic farming. There we go. So important that we're eating like the most nutritious foods possible, and that comes from where it's grown and how it's grown. So definitely talk to farmers or talk to your local grocery stores to see where the food's coming from, and always try to buy organic. And if you can't always do it for this week. We're going to do a challenge. Are we going to do this every month?
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start with December.
Okay.
And let's see how many people are listening and who are going to do it with us.
Yeah.
Because I think we need to start that bucket revolution.
So
absolutely.
I'm going to get Jack, our creative director, to do some graphics, and we'll post them and email them out to everybody and get started on this.
Good. And I'll work with my marketing team and do the same.
Okay.
And we are starting a revolution.
Yes. I love
I'm so excited.
It's perfect. I'm glad we came to this realization. It's perfect.
And
Very
it came
beautiful.
out very organically.
Yes. I love a good pun.
Awesome.
All right. So that's all for the show today. Thank you so much for being here with me. It's always such a pleasure. The next episode of Pet Star will be on December 12th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Dr. Marlene Siegel and myself, where we will be discussing how to keep your pets safe during the holidays. So important. To keep our little loved ones safe at all times, but especially around the holidays when things are so crazy. And don't forget to tune in on Monday, December 3rd for Energy Medicine with Dr. Darrell Wolfe and Dr. Marcel Wolfe at 3 p.m., not 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where they will be discussing why grounding yourself is not enough. And for the full Doc of Detox show schedule, go to docofdetoxshow.com. And again, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Much love. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you.